What are my top tips for using simulations? Got a whole bunch of them. First one is keep it simple. Don't try and change the world with your first simulation. If you've never done it before and you're a bit unsure about it, do something that's really basic. Do something that you can feel gets to the heart of what you're trying to do. Try it, go back to it, add some more things, and build up on top of it. Simulations are really adaptable, and that's one of the great things about them, is that you can add things again and again, so you can have your framework and you can build out on it. So don't feel that you've got to do everything at once. Just start and keep it simple. Second thing related to that is you've got to know what you're trying to achieve with using a simulation. You can't have 15 different learning objectives. Just have one idea that you're trying to communicate, whether that's about the difficulty of negotiation or about the ways in which people relate to each other. If you're clear about that, then you can communicate that to your students. It informs your design of your simulation, and it makes the whole thing much more clear and focused and helpful for students. Third thing is trust your students, trust the people who are playing this game. You don't have to give them anything. That's the whole point about simulations, is you're not saying it's predetermined. You're saying, here's a scenario, here's a framework, let's see what happens when we try and play it. And actually, students turn out to be very adaptable, very inventive in the way that they can take a framework and apply it and come up with something really creative. That's one of the things that I always say to my students when I play a large game, is that they've always disappointed me because they haven't done what I thought they'd do, but they've really made me happy because they've done something completely different that I haven't even started to think about. And if you get that, that's really rewarding for them as well as for you. Apart from that, I think the other big message is about feedback. You've got to keep track of what's going on. There's so much happening in a room. If you've got a room of, say, 20 students, 30 students, and they're talking for a couple of hours, then that's an awful lot to take in, probably more than you as an individual can take in. So you've got to keep track. And the reason you've got to keep track is that you've got to give feedback. There's no point doing a simulation and saying, well, that was fun, we liked that. Instead, you've got to say, let's talk about what we've done, reflect on that process, and use that as a way of building our understanding. Because what you want to do is not have a simulation that's disconnected from everything else. Instead, what you want to do is to connect it to the rest of the learning experience. You want to be able to say to students, look, we've done this thing, we've had this game, it was fun, we enjoyed it, it was different, but can you see how it relates to the other topics that we have? And that's something which is often forgotten. Often we think, here's something we just tack on, we do it as a sideshow, and it's not really part of anything bigger. Lastly, I think it's about sharing your experiences. There's no right way of doing simulations. Hopefully in all these materials that I've given you, I've said we've got a very, very open kind of framework that lets us try some different things in different kinds of ways. And you know, each time you play a simulation, even if it's exactly the same instructions, even if you've got the same people, they'll do it differently each time. And that's really good for problematizing a lot of the questions that we as social scientists are interested in. So, share your ideas, share your frameworks, your games, find the resources that I've given you links to elsewhere in this guide, and just generate ideas. And I hope that out of all of that, you'll find simulations as rewarding for your students and for you as I do.